couple people.
If anybody even will show up.
Probably no. Probably nobody.
Can't say we didn't try.
We didn't try, boys.
I seen a lot of shirts last night, though.
I did.
I told her I seen more than I expected. I was like, damn. Like, every time I turn, there's someone walking with a shirt. I'm like, oh, shit.
Hell yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Nobody yet? Oh, there is? Oh, okay. Don't stare at me like that. Please don't. Too much pressure. All right. You ready, boys?
Ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
This is the Let's Go Carl podcast. I am Brandon Yates, Big Business, a.k.a. Loud Carl.
Thomas Braswell, Lil Carl. I run Outlaw Force.
Josh Jones, street stock driver. They call me Big Carl.
Because he's big as hell.
Not as big as real Carl, wherever the hell he's
Hey,
at.
we Carl's late, so he's going to get left out.
Yep. He'll get here when he gets here.
Josh, you want to explain the Carl story? What came to this?
Well, we was at track one night and the official kind of mouthed off the wrong way, and we're standing there after the races, and old real Carl looks at him and goes, kind of looks like that Carl kid from Jimmy Neutron. And ever since then, he's been Carl. We call each other Carl. Brandon kind of brought that in with his little Carl group chat.
Yep.
Yep.
And so now here we are, a bunch of Carls, just trying to make people laugh and give y'all an insight into what it's like to race around here, down in Florida.
He did look like Carl, though. Carl Weasley.
No bullshit.
He pulled that picture up next to him. It looks like Carl.
No, yeah, we pulled up a picture. We're all sitting there bullshit. He pulled up a picture, and we all started dying laughing because he looked just like this dude.
But I've even shown
Built
up to people
the same and all.
like this guy and this guy, and they're like,
Yep.
that's him.
That's him, dude.
That's
I
him.
know.
Some Nuku guys.
It's a Nuku, bro.
So y'all both raced last night?
Yeah, I ran, and at first the car did seem tight. Like, in the feature time, I realized once the track dried up, it was tight. Like, because even when I'd set it sooner, because I was setting it sooner in the feature like he was telling me, and I'd set it sooner, and it's like I'd get mid-turn and just want to go back.
You listen to me?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, I listen. I try a little bit what everybody gives me because I'm just trying to get it, So I try. I take advice when I feel like it's right in the moment, especially if I'm feeling it out and I can tell. So I try to take advice, see what works for me, what don't, and go from there.
What'd you do in the off season to get that car ready for Saturday?
God, we cut the whole rear clip up because the real Carl wanted at last minute, like
You didn't let him do no welding, did you?
No, that's the problem. No, so we cut the rear clip up. He wanted to, because one side, we went and got that car from Georgia because my last chassis was bent to hell. And I had that thing stripped down, ready to go. And he was like, let's cut the clip because one part of the rear end was underneath, one was over top. So we just matched the other side, cut it, leveled it, scaled it. When we scaled it after my wreck the first night, when the bumper got yanked off.
That was funny shit.
That was
a
some
good video.
depressing
That
shit.
was good.
That was some.
What caused you to get in the wall?
So, like, the track was already.
Did you see a
super
squirrel out there or something?
No.
Saw a hot girl, you had to turn over there and say what's up?
No.
Dude, we didn't even know what happened. We was up there watching. We're like, "What's caution out for?" Oh shit!
I was so pissed.
Dude, when they hooked to your car and they picked it up and they pulled forward and your bumper came out, I died.
No, like, that's the thing, though. I'm sitting there, they're pulling me, and then I thud. I'm like, don't tell me. I said, don't tell me. I was like, don't tell me they just pulled this rear clip out of my fucking car. I turned and see the bumper. I just sat back in the seat. It was like, oh my God. Everyone in turn 2 started laughing. I was so pissed.
Sounds like he's like, I'm glad it was the bumper, not the whole rear clip.
Yeah. I had to go check the rear clip after. I real shit went and checked all the wheels on the rear clip after that fucking bumper. But everything was good. Every corner was welded. I was making sure he ain't missed no shit like he did on the bumper. But it was just crunch time. I had it ready, but with him racing all over in Clewiston, wherever, I helped him get ready most of the time. You know, he was racing.
I wouldn't call what he does racing. That's riding around. Take it easy on the racing subject.
Cruising on I-4?
Yeah, he was on I-4 just cruising.
Nah, but I've been helping him a lot. My car was stripped down ready. I bought the aluminum. Aluminum sat for like 2-3 weeks. So we built it, got it out there. Didn't get to scale it first night, so it actually had negative bite.
Had negative bite.
Negative bite.
I like it.
When we put it on the scale, it had negative bite.
I would have left it.
Dog. That bitch plowed. I couldn't. But we got it set up now, and last night it felt good, but like when you said it was too tight, I couldn't really feel it in the heat race because it was still kind of slickish out there in them certain spots, so it turned like I want it. But when the track dried up, I'd get it turned sooner than later, and then it'd get like mid-corner and want to go back.
Hey, bro, you're improving. Every time you hit the racetrack, I mean...
It felt consistent last night. It felt good.
You didn't grow up racing.
No.
So...
This is only my third season. I raced 2 go-kart races. Won the first go-kart race. Got third in the second.
How many go-karts showed up, too?
No, it was like...
God, that's go-kart racing
like
now.
5.
Remember when
That
we
was
was
at
kids,
East Bay.
when we was kids, there was a bunch of go-karts.
Yeah, no, there was still quite a few out there when I was racing at East Bay, but it definitely was dwindling, like you could tell. But I raced the champ karts. I raced 2 races. First race, went out there. I think there was 5 of us. Went out there, won by half the track. Me and my dad walked the track in the intermission because you could go out there and walk the track.
Yep.
And he told me, he said, "This black groove right here, this whole black line, follow it around the whole track, and you'll get them."
Oh shit!
And I walked them by half the track that race.
It's
hold
the
on.
real car.
You're going to show up now?
Listen, first of all, before the shit talking starts, I want to make it clear that I not only got bullied into going to the pool and getting drunk last night.
Who got you drunk?
He's got Gatorade.
Your father.
Are them Yates boys bad influences?
No, they're bad.
Hey, give him that picture.
I heard Brandon was feeding you shots left and right.
Dude, it was terrible. No,
There's some room over here.
No, I need a chair.
Get that one.
Yeah, bring that.
Right.
There you go. Shop stool out.
Here we go.
I'm glad you got to interrupt my first episode. Okay, Thomas, so anyways, car looks good. Got a new wrap on it.
Yeah, feels good.
You happy about it?
I'm happy with the setup. I might want to loosen it up a bit. Just a bit, just to get, a little faster. Something like that. Just to get a little faster.
You got that 2500 in there?
That's a good one. That's good. He might. I don't.
I mean, we hung the 2850 off in the 23 last night, and we still got outran by a pea shooter, according to some people. So,
Thing was digging though.
it's all good. We'll put the little motor back
You
in.
can hear that,
Probably
right?
win next time. So,
I can tell you that. You hear that, right? Clack. You drove up next to me here. Clack, clack, clack.
Well, before we get too far into it, why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
I'm Stephen Holball, driver of the 75 Street Stock and the 23S Outlaw 4.
You had
Sorry
your,
I'm late, guys.
you had your busy night last night with both cars.
I did. It was
How was your week
I had a busy
getting them 2 cars together?
So I definitely was slacking with the street stock. We haven't raced in over a month. The Outlaw 4, we had to gather a bunch of parts because they got wrecked pretty bad the last time we raced. And so we really worked pretty hard all week. Friday night I had a bunch of help putting the body back on.
Carl
gang.
I was at work, sorry.
It's all good.
Nice shift,
But
man.
yeah, it was been pretty bad. We pulled it back around, and believe it or not, put it on the scales yesterday before we loaded up. Right at 4 o'clock, Thomas.
Yep.
And it was right on the money.
It was right. No, it was right where the fuck it needed to be. It was
Didn't touch
unbelievable.
Couldn't believe it. So it was good.
Sweet.
Yeah, I done told him about my negative bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put it on the scale. It had 37% cross. I was like, yeah, this is not good.
So a couple weeks ago, Steven, you had your first win at Street Stock.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was probably the greatest accomplishment of my career. This is my 19th full season racing. Had a couple of years where I only raced 3 or 4 times in that year, but it we had a lot of success in the Outlaw 4s over the years. Had a lot of great people helping me, got me where I was at. So, but the street stock deal, especially in today's world, Josh can attest to this. The class is so competitive that everybody knows my car is not exactly the best of the best, and it was a shock to me. So, but I'll touch on this real quick. Racing in general, but especially dirt track racing, is the most humbling sport there is.
Yep.
Because I go from winning that feature a month ago to last night. We had 7 cars start the feature, and I wheeled it all the way through the field to 5th after starting on the pole. So I mean, it was a good
You wheeled
time.
yourself backwards,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Well, like I always say, that the East Bay Street Stock class is tough. It's full of great drivers and great equipment. I mean, there's no slacking in that class. It's tough. Everybody's got the best of the best equipment, and everybody in it's a badass. So
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I mean, you go from having a $30,000 race car to Steven having a squirrel built in the backyard, borrowing parts from everybody, and busting their butt. That's
You know how many times he'd hey, ask your grandpa about that cam if he's got some lifters for it. My grandpa had an old motor out of an old pickup or some shit. When he first built the street stock, he threw that thing in it. That was a squirrel build too. He threw that thing in it. It ran decent. I mean,
yeah, we had a good built motor when I first put the car together, and the first night I ran it, I wiped the cam out, and it just put metal all through the motor. So we were kind of like at our wits' end on that point because just spent all that money putting the car together and stuff. So we ran a little motor last year, had a little bit of success with it. The motor that's in the car, we call it the boat anchor because it literally should have been classified as a boat anchor. So
When you took the lead of that, like when you got to the staging, did you have a mindset, okay, I hope for a top 5, or hey, I'm about to go bust their ass and I'm about to win this?
no, it was man, we have an opportunity to run a top 5 here with these guys, and Josh, was there 14 cars?
It was stout field. Everybody was there.
It was 14 cars, and that it was like I told myself I pulled out on the back straightaway, and I started on the outside pole. Thomas Pratt was starting on the pole, and I'm sitting there, and I caught myself. I was like daydreaming. And honestly, it's kind of cheesy, but I was sitting there telling myself, "What would you say in victory lane if you won this thing?" So then finally, I just like snapped out of it, and I just shook my head, and I'm like, "Man, shut up! You're not gonna win this thing." But my whole goal was, and I told myself, I'm starting on the outside pole. I'm notorious for jumping starts, and the people in the tower know this. So I'm gonna let him get the hit. So I even let him get the hit, and I just put it to the floor. And I beat him to turn 1. Didn't think that was gonna happen. Beat him off of 2. And I know he ducked underneath me a couple times, but I never seen him after that. And I just kept waiting for him and Timmy just to come driving by.
But you felt like you could hear them.
Yeah.
You felt like they were right there.
And then like the last 2, at least 2 or 3 laps, I really, really started backing my corners up because I heard him get underneath me one time because I made a mistake in 1 and 2. Car pushed real bad, and I heard him get underneath me coming off of 2.
Yep.
So I started backing my corners up, which I'm also notorious for that because I don't want to make a stupid mistake. So it really slowed the pace down, and he was all over me at the end. But I mean, he was also coming. Don't get me wrong, but that's something I got to work on. You just got to run your line and run your race the whole time. You can't just slow down and change your pace. So
once you took the lead, did you think, okay, we're coming up, I got halfway? Did you think like, wow, I'm still leading this race? You're still waiting for them to come?
Yeah, no. The halfway mark, I'm like, oh my God, this is the longest race I've ever ran.
Like you knew, hey, I got something tonight. So when you crossed we all know how it feels to get your first win in something.
Yeah.
When you crossed that white flag, you got the white flag, what were you thinking at that moment?
Hey, dumbass, don't screw up.
I mean, for me, like, when I had my first lap, my win, dude, I cried. Like, I literally cried coming to the checker, dude. It was amazing.
Coming to the checker, I had tears running down my cheek, down the back stretch, and it's really humbling because, just like we said, man, we're running on a shoestring budget to what I've always been, a shoestring racer. I've been criticized in the past because, you know, instead of sitting out a week and doing the right thing, you piece something together and go race. That's just the way I've always been. And it's, unfortunately, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'll ever change. So it's just, it's what we do. It's what my family is, you know, notorious for. And we make things work. We've been fortunate enough to be successful.
Well, and to attest to how strong that field was, there was, like we said, about 14, 15 cars.
Mm-hmm.
How many cars did you lap? And we went green to checkered, all 15 laps green.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the rest of it, and the one driver was a rookie, but the rest of the field was half a lap?
I mean, dude, you had Tim Gay. I mean,
Yeah.
you had Pratt. I mean, you got guys that been racing
You
fish
got
off longer than you.
Illinois, you got
Conyers.
Street Stocks,
I mean, you got all them good guys. I mean, like,
all of
and you're leading this thing. Like, you're over here thinking, okay, don't mess up. And I'm over here praying because I'm in the stands like, please no caution, please no caution.
Well, that was my biggest fear, and I was waiting for it because I knew if we had a caution, all right, nobody believes it except for the few here because they know what I got. But that thing had its tongue hung out. It was running hot. It was 250 degrees already, and I'm just telling myself, just pace it, and I'm praying that nobody makes a mistake. Whereas Josh is talking about the one car we did lap. Yes, he's new to it. He ain't got him a whole lot of seat time, but he did a really good job holding on to the car.
Yeah.
And I seen him get sideways one time. I'm like, oh man, here we go. This is going to be my caution. This is going to be my downfall. Because I can tell you right now, when I raced Outlaw 4s, once again, we were always on a shoestring budget when I had my old 75 car. And I ran second to Shirlene Hammond 12 times in one season.
I think a lot of us did.
Yes. But when I can sit here and I can tell you I ran second 12 times in one season, after about the fourth or fifth time of running second, it's not fun anymore.
No.
It really sucks. Because when I say I run second, it was always I'd lead between 5 to 13 laps, and then we'd have a caution. And she would always get me at the end because the better equipment.
And you always knew, man, my stuff ain't going to take off.
Nope.
You know.
You always
It's already
try to do
hot.
everything
Yeah.
you can. Like, oh
That was me
man,
on the
clutch
last
is
race
hot,
start.
you know. And
The biggest thing is when yellow came out, like for me, I started talking to myself like, all right, Brandon, you need to do this, and you feel like you can hear them right there, and you're like, don't mess up, and stuff like that.
yeah, it was like last night. We had the caution with 2 to go in the Outlaw 4, and Vernon had pulled out probably at least a straightaway.
Yep.
And when I had the caution, I didn't tell myself that I thought that I had a chance to catch him, but I'm like, well, man, here you go. You know, here's the Hail Mary. But also, like I said, I'm notorious for getting the jump on people on starts, so I get watched like a hawk. I always have and I always will because they know how I race. So I was telling myself, are you going to try to sneak one off and just drive to the outside, or are you actually going to fall in line? And, well, after getting coached all the way down the backstretch about being told to stay in line, I just decided to stay in line. So Vernon drove a great race. We had a shot. I drove underneath him at one point. I think I'd come into the white flag, and I shot my shot, but he drove away. So
I wasn't expecting like that car to run that good. From me coming over and we're all getting it. Dude, the car's tore apart.
Yeah.
There's no deck. The motor's sitting sideways because it's bent. And we're over here drilling holes. Just put a right front shock on.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left Friday night, I mean, we put the deck on. All you had left was little minor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for it to roll out in that heat race, start third row outside, and just take the lead down the backstretch, I was confident. Like, hey, this thing's got something tonight.
Yeah, the only issue you really have with it is it's got something's wrong with the rack opinion from the wreck. It just kind of got overlooked. But if I described it last night to a couple of guys, it literally felt like there's a beach ball in between each tire and the frame rail. So it wasn't necessarily hard to drive by any means, but you had to constantly fight the steering wheel because it didn't want to. It wasn't trying to yank it out of your hands, but it would pull it back like it was trying to self-center, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So that's why I describe it as in like either beach balls or 2 big ass rubber bands or something. So it made it really difficult to run a smooth line. So honestly, my hands were really tired at that point. Brandon, you can attest to Outlaw 4s. Like my car, I'm fortunate enough to have power steering. So
What a sissy.
yeah, but a lot of these cars we never ran power steering on them.
If I had a power steering, I would hit the fence.
Dog, I'm on the
Okay.
restart. I'm like, man, I gotta pop it. I look, I'm at about 200. I'm like, all right. My arms are wore out. It was 13. We was on 13. We had 2 to go. I'm like, all right. Because I was starting to gain on Randy and Brad Button last night because they were fighting, and then I was getting a consistent line and gaining, and then we had to caution. I was like, all right, I got a chance. They've been fighting. I've been gaining on them. I just got to run that line. I popped it, and then I throw it low, and like I tried to, I stayed back. I wasn't trying to be right on their ass because I was trying to get a little run up, and then throw it low. I threw it low. Couldn't get, Randy got high in one, and then, like I said, I'd set it early, and then it'd start to go right in the corner, and then once it got in the corner, I just lost it a little bit. I didn't hold it that turn. If I would have held it that turn, I might have been able to get under him, but we went down the backstretch. I put her down, and she just, if she didn't have the power she did in the beginning of the race, I definitely could tell. I'm going into 3, coming out of 4. I'm looking down the temperature. It's about 220, 225. Coming to the checkered, I throw it into 1. Hit the brakes. It's coasting out of 2. Fucking, it just died. No clack clack, nothing. Just turned off. I look, it's 235. I was like, yeah. I shut it off. I just let it coast into 3. Put my hand out the window, and then I'm looking at Vernon. He's sitting there too. I'm like, damn. We both probably ran hot.
Yeah, that was kind of a kick because that Vernon actually his stuff just shut off.
Yeah, mine did too. It got hot as hell.
We were coasting down the back straights on the cool down lap, and I went to pull up next to him, to wave at him and tell him good job, and all of a sudden his car just died. I was like, really, you couldn't do that a lap ago?
Yeah.
But
Could have been that 2500 he had in there.
yeah, man, you never know.
He had a big old hoss in there, boy.
Yeah, last night the 2850 didn't like it. So what can I say? It's
I mean, bro, but you went from being a squirrel. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You went from being a squirrel to holding your line, getting better, explaining to us what the car is doing. I mean, bro, you're doing a good job.
And I'm getting help from a lot of people. Steven, he's helped me a lot. I wouldn't be as far as I am, really, because I had an old chassis, the whole door bar rotted underneath me. If I took one hit to the door, someone's going to be in there with me. He's seen that. I practiced the car one night. He said, hell no. That next week, he got a chassis from me, brings it to the field. He goes, hey, start sanding and painting. We started sanding and painting it, and we started building it. And we built it right when, school and everything, COVID hit. School shut down for them last few months of the year. So I was over there working on it every day. If I was lagging in schoolwork, I'd be sitting in the car while I'm doing my homework. They're doing their couple things on their cars, doing little stuff on mine, getting it done.
I mean, for me, like, my grades weren't good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to race.
That was me too. My dad.
That was it was not only your dad. That was an agreement when we built the car. Schoolwork's got to come first. It's most important. So, he did what he had to do. Now he's an adult, living the adult life. So
Yeah.
Josh,
Not as fun now.
what are you doing down there? Why aren't you having a conversation?
Man, y'all talk about the Outlaw 4s. I don't know them Outlaw 4s.
They're just a big pile of turds. That's all they are, brother.
They're
It's a big taxi cab.
Go kart with 3 more than
I think I've purposely gone to an Outlaw 4 race, for an Outlaw 4 twice, and it was the same weekend. It was up at Milton when I went with Nick Ebrang, which that was an interesting weekend. Racing your little motor against some
That real 2850,
them
son.
mini stocks that are as expensive as my street stock.
What was our going joke that weekend? We brought a knife to an AK fight.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't even a gunfight. It was like them guys were bringing freaking rocket launchers out and sitting on their shoulders. So
you could hear it down Australia. Them things were just screaming.
Yeah.
And because they could turn them big motors, what, 9,000?
Oh yeah, they turned them 9,500.
Screaming.
I mean, it was. That was an interesting weekend, man. We thought we was going to have that first night off because it rained on us the whole way up there, and then we get there and we get through the night, and I thought we was all good. I didn't even see the wreck that Nick had got in. He comes off the racetrack. I'm like, all right, we ain't got much to do to the car. We finished for one piece. He come rolling by, and I see the deck's caved in real bad. I'm like, oh, we got a lot of work to do. And we went out there the next morning, and I mean, I got sunburnt for how long we was out there trying to get that car fixed and washed and ready to go again.
Yeah, it was fun. It was an experience.
That was an interesting racetrack.
I mean, I'd love to go race with them again, but another issue is we couldn't agree on weight. Between
That
the
was
difference in cars, and
That's the hardest thing about going somewhere else.
they always look at you. Well, you got a full tube car, yeah, but you have 100 more horsepower. Than I
Right.
do.
They thought y'all's chassis was a bigger advantage than
Did
the
they run
motor,
bigger
but-
tires?
Oh yeah,
They run wider tires.
run 10-inch tires and beadlock all the way around, so it's like.
You can't.
They have more tire on the ground.
Yeah.
And the tech man laughed at us when we rolled through tech, and he goes, "That's what you're running for a right front tire?" "Yes, sir." He goes, "Yeah, you should probably go work on that. It's a little too hard." I mean, when he literally looks at you and say that, because they got American racers punching 40s,
Damn.
So it's like, yeah, no, we're in trouble here.
Yeah, so that's my experience with the Outlaw 4s. Is
Yeah.
just that one weekend.
Josh, 2 weeks ago, you wanted to race.
Wanted to.
So, you were in the Barstow machine, right, Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some engine trouble with the 05 and waiting on that to get done, and let our sponsor, Mr. Barstow, know he wasn't going to make it, and he keeps his backup car at our shop, and he said, "Well, just jump in my car and take it." And I really appreciate him letting me do that, giving me a car to race, and let me try to get some points. Unfortunately, we had a little rough time getting the car to run. It was breaking up real bad, and Brandon even threw his carburetor on there to try that. We was setting the time in, changing everything, trying to get it to run right. And before I got for the feature, Brandon looks at me, he goes, "What does your car need?" "Just a motor." "Is you sure?" "Yeah." He goes, "You want to put my motor in the car?" I go, "That's going to be a lot of work. Are you available tomorrow?" "I'm supposed to go fishing tonight, but maybe." And sure enough, we got home about 2 o'clock in the morning from the races, and he was back here at the house at 8 o'clock going to work, getting in. Unfortunately, nothing from his late model motor transferred over to the street stock. We had to change flywheel, we had to change power steering, might have borrowed a power steering, might have borrowed some parts off of that backup car, and had to change the gear. But we made it. Brandon was still setting the toe as I was going out for hot laps with my car. We got it to within about 1.5 inches or so where it needed to be, and just kind of went for it. And, we spent that whole day thrashing, and we made it work. A lot of people told us we was crazy and said, "There ain't no way you gonna make it," but we.
That car was bare.
That
car was bare.
It was rolling chassis. My shocks
how
was
it
on
said.
Barstow's car. I mean, it was.
That's crazy.
It had the wrong
Nobody
gear
did.
in it for a crate motor. It was a rolling chassis pretty much with a body on it. So we knew we had our work cut out for us, but we said, we'll try it, and if we don't make it, we don't make it. But I want to at least, give it a shot. And thankfully, Brandon come over and worked his tail off, and we went out to Lakeland, got some parts, and we made it work somehow. Struggled a little bit that night, but we was there, we raced, we had fun. And then I made the mistake of letting Brandon talk me into going to Dallas Bull after the race.
That's what happened to him.
Yeah, see where that got us. Jesus.
He's late to the show.
Hey, no, I get here, I go, "Was he feeding them drinks?" Yeah. I was.
Hey, I go, round shots for everybody. Steven goes, "What's this?" "I don't know, Kirby."
Oh, no.
Okay.
I was like, "Well, it's not bad," but he goes, "Yeah, give it about 30 minutes."
I said it sneak up right on you, bub. Oh, man. So,
But we didn't even have a drive shaft that fit either.
dude, we had to change everything on that. Because you had that high dollar BS over there like you in NASCAR.
We didn't have no gauges either. We was kind of racing.
We didn't
on
have an
where
oil pressure gauge.
No oil pressure gauge, no water temperature
Water
gauge.
temp. So, I didn't know what my motor was going to do. I was just praying it stayed together.
We knew what RPMs it was running. That was about it.
Hit the chip halfway down straightaway.
Nice.
See, I was doing the same shit whenever I was getting mine together for the first night. I had to put body on it, everything. I had to put oil pressure gauge in there because my water temperature was good. Oil pressure gauge went out. I had to put a lot of shit in there.
Do you actually wash them, though? Do you actually look down straightaway while you're going, or what?
Like,
Or do you just go check your, oh shit, we're 270?
so.
Well, see, that's what I like
We
about the
have
digital
enough
gauges.
caution.
They flash at you.
Yeah, well, we have enough cautions too. So it's like, if I can smell something or it don't feel right, I'll check real quick while we're under green. But we have a lot of, we end up having cautions beginning, middle, or end. And at 13, it was at 2. And I was like, okay, we got 2 laps. I'm going to finish this race, you know?
Right.
And I just ran it, and then it died going out of 2 after the checker. And it was at 2:30. And when I got back in the pits after I let it cool down, it started right back up, all in all 4s. Wasn't on running on 3. My grandpa said it was running on 3 cylinders, but it was running on 4. It sounded great. I might need some plug wires, you know.
Yeah.
Them are old.
So with my gauges, I position my gauges in my car. I move them all the way to the right, and a lot of times I'll actually turn them to where they're kind of facing at you. And the reason for that is, and I also twist the gauge in the car to where the normal needle will be pointing straight up and down for a normal oil pressure or normal water temperature. So I don't look at them going down straight away. What I do when I set the car through the corner, because in a dirt car, most people that race dirt know this, you're looking out the right front. You're not paying, you know what I mean? When the car's set in the corner, you're usually looking out the right front. So I'll just glance. I just barely drop my eye, and then usually do that like every 2 laps. A lot of times, like a lot of people will tell you, like you can't be worried about that, depending on the class. Like in the street stock, you ain't got time for that, especially not when you're racing door to door with somebody.
Well, that's why I like the digital gauges. Is if I get just a shot, you know, look down, all I gotta do is glance down. If something's flashing, then I need to take a look. Yeah. If nothing's flashing, I'm good to go. You know, it's a real quick look down. Now, I will say that hot lap session I ran Brandon's motor, I was watching that RPM, you know, making sure we wasn't turning it too hard. That's the only time I've ever really stared at a gauge. I mean, because I knew he was worried about it. He come in and he goes, "What it turn? What it turn?" I didn't know what my motor turned. I said, "Man, it only got on the chip one time." But,
See, me, if I like Volusia, Nemore, and all that, we don't have a lot of yellows in the weight halls. I mean, if it is, something bad happened. Like there's a pile up. Yeah. So my thing is like, if I'm leading, I don't know what it is. I don't look. I'm focused on hitting my line. But shit, if I'm running like 18th, yeah, I just stare at it and you know make sure everything's running good.
Well, yeah, because at that point you ain't got much to lose. If you're running 18th and it starts running hot, well, I'm gonna pull off. You know?
I mean, me like when I won at Volusia, it said 250. I said screw this. We got 2 more laps. This thing will blow coming to the checker. And when we won, Dad's like, how hot did the car get? I'm like, you don't want to know. just know I have a new one order and be at the shop, you know, by Monday.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
So,
or you could be like me and lose brakes on lap 6 of a 75-lap race at Lewiston and you just, you know, whatever.
Listen, there's only 5 laps left. I mean, that's a long race. Yeah. 5 laps. It took them the last 5 to finally get to your bumper in lap 2.
Yeah, that was the 92 lapper in December.
That was crazy.
Back in
February
this year, we went down there and ran 10,000 to win. And I thought I had something, and I was rolling through the middle. I passed a couple cars, and somebody spun out in front of me, and I had nowhere to go, and I kind of tail slapped him.
I thought you had something at that 92 lapper, man. I was falling behind you. You was getting ready to pass somebody, and I was like, all right, we going to the front. And all of a sudden, I seen that guy clear you. I went, sorry, Steve, I got to go. I'm at the top show.
That was the pea shooter. It would take off great.
Well, let me tell you, but I knew when you told me you was getting more motor that you was going to be trouble because you was hard enough to pass with that little motor.
This guy's hard to pass at anything. Listen, he can tell you every time I pass him, I had to door him.
Dude,
I had to door him.
It took me 2 or 3 laps running wide open around the top to get around him at East Bay. I mean, you got to work for it to get around him.
Dude, I doored him in the flag stand. He was pissed. I'm like, Bub, you make your car real wide. I'm like, when I got to run, I got to go. Because if I get around him, he's going to play hell trying to get around me. You know? So, you got your first win streak stock. You got your first win streak stock. So, you're both the one-hit wonders right now.
Yep. So far, yeah.
How's that feeling? Like, it's got to suck to be like, okay, I got to win another one. I mean, the first one was hard. First one's always hard. And they come easier as they come.
So they say.
That's what they say.
That's wrong. But okay.
But being a one-hit wonder's gotta suck right now.
Being a no-hit wonder sucks.
Take it easy, buddy.
Me and Josh can tell you that just getting one was something in my book. Okay. I mean, I even said it when we won the last race. Like, if I don't win another one all year, I'll still be satisfied. I won a street stock race. Now, do I want to win? Absolutely.
Yeah, but deep down, you're like, I want to win everything now.
Well, my whole thing is now I feel like I got something to prove. Because yes, right, the racetrack was where I needed it. You know,
It was
I had the
perfect.
preferred line. You know, everything fell together. So yeah, it was a deal. I got. Whoops, my bad. But you know,
Well, like I said, it's a tough class. Everybody's good. I mean, that night I ran third in the Memphis Series race. I was ecstatic about that. It felt like a win just to, we had Austin Sanders, who's won a ton of modified races in the street stock, and I was trying to chase him down. He's a badass, man.
I mean,
Running third to him felt good.
these days now, like racing back then, I hear my dad, and you know people, and you know
My
people.
grandpa.
Back in the day, a race car was a stock car.
Yeah.
It was a real stock car.
yeah.
Dude, my dad's told me 100 times that's a late model sitting over there from back in his day.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
80s, that was a late model.
the technology we do now, all the adjustments we can make and stuff like that is just amazing. That's why it's so hard to compete now. Like the street stock, dude, you guys got as much money as I have in my late model. You're basically a limited late model now.
We're a
So
quick change away from the limited late model.
exactly.
I mean,
So-
they're even letting you run tubular chassis now.
I mean, even in the late model, like I want to win, but even me, I'm on a budget. These guys got toters. They got 4 sets of tires they can mount on.
They
I
good
got
backup
I
tires.
got 1 pair of shocks. I got 2 sets. That's what I got to work with, boys. That's it. So when I win or I finish 5th or something like that, that's a win to me. Like when I go to these new racetracks, I'm like, shit, we finished top 5. We never been here. There's 18 cars deep.
See, I'm the same way because everything I got on my car, that's what I got. I got old tires from 4 or 5 years ago that ain't even the tires I could run as a spare. And if I finished the race, that's a win for me. You know what I mean? Like last night, I ran consistent, finished the race. Car died at the end of the race, but I finished. It started back up, felt good. Had a fun time. It was a blast. And even in Outlaw Fours, I know. It's a lower class, but it's even still tough with all them guys out there. That have been racing that class for
But
years
bro,
and years and years.
It's really not a lower class to me. To me, that class has such good drivers. I mean, in that class, it's momentum and being smooth on the steering wheel.
Listen, a lot of the, not to cut you guys off, but there's a lot of competition in different classes between late models and modifieds right now. They started in Outlaw Force. And that class will teach you a lot. And it's part of the reason why I feel like I got success in other stuff, because of the simple fact you have to be so smooth. You have to be on top of the wheel the entire time. And you can't make mistakes. Because everybody jokes, yeah, it's an overgrown go-kart. No, it's a race car, but you got to drive with a go-kart mentality because you don't have the horsepower to make mistakes, and stuff like that. So it's I can tell you, I raced with Josh Peacock, Wallace Peacock. I raced with Jeff Conyers back in the day in the mini stock.
Dixon?
Dixon, they all started somewhere. Shane Burrows. Jamie Burrows. I raced with Jamie for a long time, and which we had a lot of fun doing that. So you got a lot of good competition. I mean, look, you got guys like Danny Bowman Sr. race main stock for years. David Smouse, track champions. Like back in the day, back in the early '90s, it was Bill Howard.
Yeah.
Billy Howard. So it's like.
I am glad to see that class come back. I remember it was pretty down there. I mean,
It felt good having that much cars last night because that's about the most cars I ran in a race because we're used to our normal 8 to 10. Our normal 8 to 10 show up. I'm like, okay, I can maybe pull the top 5 out, whatever. Maybe top 3 if some, there's pile ups or whatever. Everyone's running hard. But 13, I was like, I just need to be consistent. I was like, I got 7 more people behind me. I started 7. I had 6, 7 more people behind me and then 6 in front of me. I knew I was dead smack in the middle of the field on the start of the feature. So I was like, just run. I know who I normally run with, you know what I mean? And try to catch them guys I normally run with and make clean passes, And I'm going to give props when props is due. I was talking to my girl last night and I was like, God damn it, I was running a consistent line, running line, but Rochelle was holding her line. She was running damn good last night. She did good. She had motor issues. It happens to the best of us. But I was starting to catch her, but I couldn't get her. I couldn't get to her. She's doing good, and I'm happy to see she's doing better because now it races are just running. We're running. And like last night was a really good race. It was a fun race. I had a good time.
I remember when that class was. There was a night where y'all rolled up for feature. Brandon was in that race, and some guy looked at me and goes, "Jones, is this the feature?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Why is there only 3 cars?"
Yeah. Yeah, man. That first Friday, everyone was wrecking out, and that was just. I feel like more or less that was everyone just rushing to get their stuff together, all the bugs, all the problems, you know. And I get in the infield because I spin out twice, and you know I spun out. They tell me pull in. I was like, okay. I pull in, and then I'm sitting there watching the race. Another car's pulling in, then another one, then another one, then another one, and then it only ended up with 2 cars that finished that feature.
Oh no, this was 3 cars that started the feature.
Well, let me tell you this, and Stevie can say yes to this too. When I started in Outlaw 4, came out of the go-kart, my first practice was with Steven.
Mine,
You know?
Yeah.
And we had radios and everything, and finally, I mean, me racing, I give the pressure, because in go-karting you give the pressure, you know, make a mess up. Well, I was on Steven. Either I was going to shove him a little bit, or he's going to get out of the way.
All right. Well, let me preface.
Oh,
this.
God. Stop
I
it.
want to make this known because you know the protege here likes to bring this up a lot. But I raced the night before in my car. My right rear tire had cords hanging out of it. Homeboy is in his sister's fresh car that ain't been racing 2 months, and it had brand new tires on it. So let's go ahead and make that clear, Brandon.
Oh, my
But
Lord.
yes, no, all jokes aside, he did. He was all over me, and then John finally had to come over the radio and say, "Diggin, you might as well let him go, because if not, y'all gonna wreck." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a good idea."
So even a lot of people told me, like, when I got in that class, once you move up, this, like, the Outlaw 4 is the hardest class to race. Because, you know, a lot of y'all don't run power steering, but it is what it is. Well, I didn't believe nobody. I'm like, man, y'all crazy. Like, these cars are easy. Dude, when I got to a late model, you got power steering.
Oh, yeah.
You got a bigger tire. Man, I got a right rear I put on against the fence now.
Yeah.
And racing that class that long will make you a better driver.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, racing that class made you a good street truck driver. Like, so, what kind of plans you got, Josh, left?
And you know, just get through another week and hopefully get the motor back this week, get it dropped in, get the car scaled out, and try to get it wrapped and get ready. We're gonna try to make it down to Hendry County for them Twin 20s, finish out the Memphis series. Which I was glad to see they did that series. That was really cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I was glad to be a part of it last year. I was part of the driving force of getting my car done like it did. Me, Austin, and Amber used to be, you know, really good friends. They're still great friends, but we used to be really tight. You know, I was around when Memphis was around, so I hated to hear that. That's why I was really glad I was able to be a part of that series. I'm glad that Ken's doing, you know.
Well, the other thing that makes it cool is it's 2 racetracks that work together and put a little series together. I mean,
And that's hard to do now.
You don't
these days.
get that very much here
Give
in
a shout out
Florida.
to
at least.
you know to Billy. Billy was definitely a part of it.
Yeah,
And David McCormick.
Yep.
You know.
there was a lot of good people behind that series.
Yeah, that was.
I'd like to see more of the tracks getting together. I mean, it's nothing to have, you know, 20 street stocks in Hendry County and 25 up at Ocala or North Florida, wherever.
Yeah.
You know, on the same night. It was nice to see 2 tracks work together and say, hey, let's all race here one night, and give everybody a good field of cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Makes for better racing, definitely.
Steven, what do you got coming up, Bo?
Well, same thing as Josh. I'm gonna, you know, get the car out of the trailer, get it cleaned, and I got to go through the fuel system. Definitely have a fuel system issue. Figure that out, and it's probably something as simple as a clogged fuel filter, for all I know. But we'll figure it out, and I want to try to make it down to Clewiston for the Twin 20s. And
What about Why Not?
oh well, we're wanting to go to Why Not in August. I'm shooting for Why Not in August. I would like to go back in November for the World Series.
I mean,
now.
bro, even to make the race
Oh yeah.
is something you're saying. Like, dude, I'm from Florida. I got this old beat up car. Y'all got these brand new statement cars, bro. I made the race. I don't care if I start last.
Oh, yeah.
I made it.
That was the whole goal during the Nationals, you know. And when I ran the Nationals this year, my goal was to make all 3 nights. Unfortunately, Thursday and Friday didn't go our way, but it wasn't because we didn't have the speed. It's just because the luck never fell our way.
Right.
we were fighting for a transfer spot every time we were on the racetrack.
Every time.
It wasn't I got out, I went out there and ran dead last. It was so the Saturday night show was the fastest we were all week after we've been working on the car, and I went out there. I had a transfer locked up in the heat race. I screwed up and I spun out. The car was too free. Made some changes, and went out there for the B main, and I wound up having to start. I started 8th, I think it was, and we went in, and me and my buddy David and Thomas and all of us are standing there, and my buddy Mike Lees are standing there. We're talking. David's like, "Man, why don't we try this, this, and this?" And I'm going. He goes, "What do you want to try?" I said, "All of it."
We're swinging for the fence.
Every night.
Hero or zero. It's like the
Every
problem
night.
is all 3 days that we ran the nationals,
Changed it.
the car was tore to pieces every day because we changed something. We tried something different. And my buddy Chris Walker lives up in Panama City, Robo Hutchison. They really helped us out. They gave us a lot of useful information. And, I took nothing for granted. Like, these guys they're competitive everywhere they go. And, Chris is like, "Hey, man, I got a set of shocks. Let's bolt them on." I'm like, "Hey, brother, if you think you're going to help, let's try it."
Yeah.
And, man, I'll tell you what, made a different race car. But between the heat race and that B main that Saturday night, man, we changed front spring. We put spring rubber in it. We did all kinds of stuff. We changed the right rear spring. We changed stagger, all this other great stuff. And we did all this in like 20 minutes.
It was
And,
on jack stands.
I mean,
tires off.
We made huge changes and huge gains at it. And, David says, "Man, all you got to do is make it a transfer spot, and you're in the show." And I'm like, "That's the goal." Well,
It's easy to say that.
We did more than that. Started 8th and drove to the lead on lap 2 and never looked back. And that was
crazy.
that was awesome is what that was, because we did it in front of a large field.
You
did it
didn't
in front of a
expect
large
that.
crowd.
You
Yeah,
did it on Flow Racing.
on flow racing of all things,
Flow
and on
racing.
top of that, that was my first ever Cruiser sanctioned event, and that's the best of the best.
It's stout field.
So it made me feel good, And then we didn't really have a whole lot of time to turn the car around come feature time. So we started towards the back. We finished towards the back. I started I think 17th and I finished 14th in the A main on Saturday night. So I can't complain. We ran the whole race.
You made the show. It made you feel good.
Yeah.
All them cars, man, they race every week.
Yep. And then we showed that speed. So then Saturday night I was like, you know what, we're gonna load up and go to North Florida tomorrow. It's $1,500 a win. And they capitalized on all the guys going home. So we drove up there. I ran second in my heat race, and I was running second in the feature. In the striking distance to the leader, I felt like I had more, and we broke a rocker stud. So I dropped the cylinder, but I still wound up running 4th up against a stacked crowd up there. There was 20 cars, and 15 of them were able to win the race. So it was, it was a good time. We showed out. We showed up and showed out. So that was the whole point, and it was a good long week of racing. It was fun. So and made it fun, made it worthwhile.
It was exciting because I was helping Brendan Smith that week, and I knew you were in the B main. So I'm back there changing tires. I pull up race monitor. I'm like, okay, starts 8th. Put the phone down, change some tires. By the time I look back, you're in the freaking lead. I'm like, what the heck? Everybody wrecked? Did everybody wreck? Like, what happened here? We had a red flag. And I end up watching the video, and you definitely just spanked their butt.
Well, and then a lot of the biggest thing about when you're running a 3-night event like that is seat time. Unfortunately, in today's world, with us racing here at a local level, we don't get practice and stuff like we used to. And I feel like in Thomas's situation, it's a big issue.
I promise you, because every time I get in my car, I'm learning something new, doing a different technique, feeling better, and
Do you know what you're doing?
I'm getting there. It's a learning process, every bit of it. Every one of us still learn, you know what I mean? But it's like, if I had that practice like it was whenever I was watching my dad and him race, I feel like that more seat time would help tremendously.
Yeah, to your point, we
And
don't
for
have
all
practice
this
nights
younger-
anymore.
For all the younger racers now too, because the practice nights, it was like every Thursday. If you race that Saturday, every Thursday or Friday night, you could go practice. And it takes away from the younger ones.
I mean, even my first start in a street stock, which again, Mr. Barstow, thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never driven a car with power steering before. I drove that car that morning around the shop. That was the longest I'd ever driven a manual transmission car, was around their shop. And all you had to do was hot laps and then throw them right to the wolves in the heat race. You didn't have a chance to get some seat time and feel it out. It was here you are, go for it.
Yeah, see, my first start was very similar to yours back in 2004 when I first started. It wasn't because we didn't have practice, it's because the car didn't get done until 5 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah.
Same thing, we deal with Thomas on a,
Daily
so
basis.
Yeah.
But we showed up to the racetrack, and I was 14 years old, and I didn't really know how to use the clutch, So it was, my uncle said, get in the car, push the clutch in. They pushed it back. He said, put in first gear, dump the clutch, and I did. So it came a long way since then, but I was at practice every Thursday night, and if it didn't matter if I was and Al would commend me for that. He would say, look, like I know you're getting better and better every week, and he goes, you're here. He goes, other people ain't showing up, and they want to know why they're not getting better. Like, it didn't matter to me. I was making laps. I was out there burning up tires. It didn't matter.
I will say, Al's good at, if he sees somebody improving, he'll let you know. He's good about that.
Yeah, well, everybody deserves an attaboy, and
Yeah.
everybody. I don't care who you are or what you're driving. If you show up to the racetrack on Saturday night, you're there to have fun.
Mhm.
Everybody deserves an attaboy. I don't care if you're driving a Gladiator 4.6 or if you got a late model. You're there. You're helping putting on the show for the fans. So.
Like yesterday I had Mike Horn came out of the car. The car looks great, bro. I had random people. I like the car. It made me feel good because we put a lot of work into everything. It takes more than what it takes a village to build these cars and maintain and do what we can, And it feels good, that people see it and like what they see, and we hear it.
Yeah, I wanna give a shout out to the modified feature last night. It was pretty good. But I do want to give a shout out to John Bradley this morning.
Yeah, I'm so glad. When he climbed out of that car, man, I was so relieved.
Shock, man.
Yeah, especially you see the safety workers on the scene start calling other safety workers over to check on him, man.
It makes you nervous because that was probably one of the hardest hits I've ever seen.
He had nowhere to go.
No,
I mean,
committed to the corner.
he did what we're all taught: turn the car, hit him with the door, and dude, he just had so much momentum. It just sounded horrible.
Now, let me tell you, John Bradley's one of the best people at the racetrack. He has helped me in my car. He's helped Mr. Barstow with his cars. I mean, he's the reason I'm half the driver that I am today. I mean, even my first start in the car, he come and talked to me and said, "Look, this is what you're doing wrong with the throttle. This is what you need to do to fix it." I mean, he's helped me come a long way. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure he lost a race car last night. I got to look at it.
Definitely lost the fuel cell.
Yeah, so
Hey, but he's not hurt.
No,
The race car did its job.
Yeah, he climbed out of that car under his own power and was telling him how to hook it up and get it back to the trailer.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I also want to give a shout out to my boy David Pullen Jr.
Yeah.
Who had a hell of a run last night.
He did good.
Got caught up in that whole mess with him and Eric Moon. Was unfortunate, but he pulled the old Sterling Marlin last night and got out of the car because somebody told him the right front shock was broke under red flag, and he went around there and decided he was going to work on it.
Yeah.
So I was joking with him. I'm like, hey man, I give you an A for effort, but he pulled a, well, I didn't know we couldn't do that. I'm like, come on, man.
Doesn't say in the rule book.
Listen, my boy took a pair of old earphones that he had laying on the floorboard and tried to use the cord to tie the shock up, trying to keep the shock from getting tore up because he wasn't going to pull in. And dude, who does that?
Who thinks of that quick?
Most people are just like, whatever. No, not David. Like, well, let me try to tie this thing up. So that was pretty cool.
What caused that wreck?
Honestly, I think it was just racing contact between him and Eric. I think Eric broke the tie rod or something in the middle of 3 and 4, and he gassed it up, didn't realize it was going to turn. They made contact. David went flying through the air. Yeah. And but everybody, you got, at that point they're running like 3rd and 4th, so it's like you got 10 other guys behind them, that are still racing, not realizing what's going on. So.
All I know is people got heated after the wreck, but my thing is they need to understand what happened. Instead of yelling at the guy, hey man, was that on purpose? Just tell me right now,
Yeah.
But obviously, I could tell. But as a driver, you're like, this mother effer just ran into me. Like,
They had a good race going the entire time. David was better up off the bottom. Eric could get a better run off the corner, I feel like. So, and I honestly, it was probably just a little bit of frustration, like making a Hail Mary last ditch effort. Whatever, it's racing. We all do it. But that was a good time.
so I see Bubba's is waiting for a schedule to come out. You going or what?
Yeah, as long as it don't interfere with the points not beach day, we'll be there.
That's the plan, is to go run some Bubba's, go run some Hendry County, and
You like Bubba's?
get
I
out.
love Boba. This is a driver's racetrack. I say that about Ocala because it don't matter how good stuff you got. You have to have good stuff, but if you don't know how to navigate the place, you ain't gonna.
Dude, 3 and 4 gets me every time.
Dude, I love it. You're wide open from the time you come off of 4 till you get to turn 3, and you have to make moves to 3 and 4. The last time we were there, I didn't really have a good break, so it was really sketchy trying to get it worked down going into 3. But it, like I said, I love the place. I always have. Loved it in the mini stocks. When we go race up there years ago when they first went back to dirt with the Outlaw 4s, you'd run down the back straightaway, and the guys that race there weekly would lift freaking half straightaway before you would. And they'd be like, "Oh, y'all are illegal." No, we're just driving it in the corner harder. But
You wouldn't believe what's in this car.
Yeah.
Came out of a Ford Ranger.
Pulled it last week.
But yeah. So we definitely plan on making some runs up there. I know, Candace and them, they really put on a good show when we're there. It's usually quick in and out, and
That's the only track I see, though. I mean, for me, if it don't matter if it rains till 6:30, Bubba will get on that grader, and we're racing tonight. We might race at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we're racing.
He might jump back on the water truck. I've seen him do
I've
that.
seen him do that too. Before feature. Oh, put the water on it, boys.
yeah, it's I mean, in Al's defense, when you got the noise ordinance that we have here in Hillsborough County, it's rough. It's definitely, it doesn't make it easy. So a lot of times, just like when I won that feature last month or whatever, and the lights went out right at the end of our feature.
Oh yeah.
Like you got to make a judgment call. Because the simple fact of the matter is you don't make that call, and then now we're going over on noise ordinance, and he's going to hear from the county. And there's fines and this and stuff. So even though you get frustrated in the moment, but you also have to understand that there's other factors behind decisions that you make. So.
Right. Well, Josh, you got anything?
I think that's it for us. I mean, I'm excited to get back out to East Bay. Got a little bit of work done on the motor. Gonna have a little more horsepower and see what we can do and try to keep up with that number 75. That guy's tough, man.
Dude, that thing is a cheating son of a gun. That guy cheats all
Wait a
day
second,
long.
more horsepower. I don't know. I don't think you need
Hey,
any more of
that is a true squirrel, right
Squirrel found its nut.
there. Hey, every girl gets a nut. That's why you got that win.
Yep.
So, Thomas, you got anything, brother?
No, my car's pretty set up. I'm liking it for the moment. I'm gonna go, bolt check, wash it down, put it on jack stands, normal stuff, and get it ready for next race, And unfortunately, we don't run too much at other tracks, I'd like to run Hendry and Bubba's. I have never raced at Bubba's. Bubba's looks fun.
You probably shit your pants first time.
Probably.
You probably shit.
1 and 2 looks wide.
Yeah, we'll make sure we take some spare front end parts and we go.
Got
You
you.
better bring everything. A whole nother car.
Oh, well.
Didn't your car end up in the wall? Brian.
Yeah.
He came out of 4.
Yep. That was the first
Oh,
time
yeah.
that it got wadded up bad. So.
Yep.
Steven, you got anything, brother?
No, I honestly just want to, thank you guys for starting this because I think it's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to give a shout out to my sponsors. Not really going to go into detail about everybody, but AJ Harris Plumbing, LaRoche Towing, Miss Vanessa, can't thank you enough. Just everybody that keeps us going, and just looking forward to the next one. We'll try to be better.
You got a lot of sponsors.
I've got a few, yeah.
I got one.
Yeah.
RCP, baby.
Yeah, there you go, man.
Hey, I've been with them for, 5 years now? That's not more than that. Thomas, what you got, man?
I got Majestic Fabrication, Bubba J Manufacturing. I got a couple people Majestic Fabrication keeps me afloat. They help me a lot, because being young is hard. Got a baby on the way too, so I gotta save, make it happen. Just got a place, so I'm working on things, And he's really been helping me keep racing because I've honestly contemplated stopping to get my shit straight. But, he's been helping me. It's East Bay's last season, so I can finish the season, figure out what I'm going to do, where I want to go race, and go from there, really.
So every Sunday at noon, we're going to go live.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be on here. We're going to be BSing, some shop talk. Dave, you got any comments? There's no comments? No?
Well, I
No.
close out thanking my sponsors, Tampa Test Kitchen, Multi-Roll, Deluxe Wheels, Barstow, all a bunch of great guys on me, LaRoche Towing. A lot of people help us to get back to the races, we really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to getting my car wrapped and have everybody on there, make it look real nice, and have something good to show off to all the sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely do take sponsors. Kenneth Keeley's going to come on here soon.
Yep.
So, boys, next Sunday, I'll see y'all there.
Next
Sounds
Sunday.
good.